An auspicious day to all. I hope you're doing well and fine despite our circumstance today. I am Henry Kaisar Blanco, a sophomore taking a Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English, and I am the author of the Learners module entitled Legal Foundation, which tackles the topics 1. Definition and nature of law and its typologies, and 2. The source of the Philippine educational jurisprudence. Now, this video and module is in partial fulfillment of the course Ed 202, the teaching profession, under the instruction of Mr. Cesar Elastrope. Since this material discourses more about legal jargon and introductory to lawful jurisprudence, at the end of the lesson in the module, the students will be able to 1. Explain the various legal ideas and essential national legalities, 2. Differentiate the meaning of the law and Philippine jurisprudence, and 3. Demonstrate awareness of the legal rights and information and juridical knowledge. Now, in this module, the 5 E's are present. And the first E that we would introduce or we would encounter is the engaging, wherein in the activity, learners will be summoned and intrigued in analyzing the lesson based on the statement aimed to be formed. At the end of this activity, they will have an idea of what the lesson is about. And with this, the activity introduced or the name of the activity is Find Me in Law School. In this activity, the instruction stated that based on the given picture, they are to locate 16 words found in certain regions of the illustrations. They will use these words to form a sentence or quote in relevance to law, and this quote was uttered by Hanju Hui or Kim Bom from the Korean series Law School, which was produced this year. In the next slide, I will be showing you the picture of the activity. As you can see, there are numerous words rumbled in different regions of the picture. Hence, these are the words that are aimed to be found by the learner and assemble it to form a grammatically structured sentence. Next, we will have the exploring portion, another affiliated of the 5 E's. Here, it introduces and gives emphasis on the topic of this module. The word law in its concept is not new to us, admit it or not. This has been introduced in the elementary or during our secondary level of education, wherein we get to know its meaning, the foundational ideas, and how is it applied in real-time scenarios. Now, in this portion, we will have an activity, and it is called What the Fact. According to the instruction, learners are given 3 columns containing specific requirements from their profound thoughts and learning outcomes, at which point they are to list down or give these ideas in the specified tables. Its objective is for them to reflect on their understanding, which is prior to the discussion of this module, and go back after the discourse, or they are to go back to this activity to fill up the third table, which is named or labeled What Have I Learned? Now, the next E is the explaining, wherein the learning of new ideas start. In this part of the module, it tackles the explanation and emphasis of the topic and the subtopics that are aimed to be given enlightenment. The following are the topics discussed in the module as what I've mentioned. 1. Definition and nature of law and its typologies. 2. The sources of Philippine educational jurisprudence. And in the second lesson, we have several subtopics. First is Philippine Constitution. Second is Philippine statutes, case laws and or jurisprudence, um, regulatory laws, ordinances, legal opinions, and resolutions. Now, to give a little information towards the topic that I have mentioned, allow me to highlight certain key ideas of what these topics are. Now, first up, we have law, or the meaning of law and its nature. Now, law is a social and normative science concerning to the local population, having the significance of regulating human behavior. Its purpose of having such necessary is for the society to have order and legal basis. Next, we have to typology. Now, typology is a system of classifications or analysis of a particular entity following its commonality in terms of characteristics, agenda, and purpose. Now, if we connect this to law, Typology speak about different types of laws and legal systems present in the country. Now, in the world, there are a lot of legal systems, but there are only three major facets. We have the civil law, the common law, and the religious law. In the Philippine setting, there are a lot of legal systems, as what I've mentioned, but those legal systems will fall amongst either of the three facets. Now let's move on to the next, which is the Philippine Constitution. Now, just a brief background, the Constitution is a legal written document that defines and establishes doctrines, fundamental principles, and lawful provisions that shall be applied in a given state or nation. Now, the latest drafted or um, the most recent drafted Philippine Constitution was proclaimed under the light of the law and the new democratic government on February 11, 1987, which is now known as the 1987 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines. Now, according to the Constitution, the current government shall observe and is coordinated by three serving branches. No branch is above one, nor one is below one. We have the executive, which comprises of the office of the president and the vice president. We have the legislative, the House of Representatives and Senate, and the judicial, which is the Supreme and lower courts. I also made mention about the preamble and the 18 articles that are found in the Constitution. Now let's move on to statutes. Statutes are authorized enactment written and documented under the authority of the legislative power that governs the lawful sectors and institutions of the city, state, municipality, and or country at which point is consented. Now, the Philippine statutes are composed of the following legal documents within the constitutional eras. We have four. The acts during the colonial period of the Americans, the Commonwealth Acts, which happened during the Commonwealth Congress, the mga batas pambansa, and the Republic Acts, which we follow today. Next is case laws. Case laws are interpreted and manifested laws in the judicial branch of the government that are enacted by the legislative branch and execute judicial and quasi-judicial functions. Next, we have regulatory laws. These are laws circulated by the executive branch of government with the appointment of the legislature to spur regulations. Regulatory laws are different from the case laws that are promulgated by the judiciary branch and the statutory laws by the legislative body. Now, to determine the difference between regulatory laws, case laws, and statutes, statutes are under the responsibility of the legislative, case laws are for the judicial, and regulatory laws are for the executive. Now, let's move on to the Philippine ordinances. Now, the legal documents are to be mandated and implemented in localized areas of the Philippine nation, such as provinces, cities, barangays, and municipalities. Now, these are the rules that will be applied in the lower part of the government, which are, as what I've mentioned, provinces, cities, barangays, and municipalities. Next, we have legal opinions. Now, legal opinions are an opinion letter offered by the opinion, or it offers the opinion writer's professional understanding of a specific feature of a particular transaction or perhaps an issue. And this is concerning to legal principles, most especially in the business world. Now, its purpose is to fulfill contractual obligations, and this is frequent when opinion letter is provided to an investor. For example, in connection with a selling of securities or the like. Philippine resolution. In Congress, state legislatures, and other public bodies, the practice of filing and voting on resolutions is in a common place. These organizations use resolutions for two reasons. First reason is resolutions indicate parliamentarian agreement on public policy topics. And the second is resolutions are passed for internal administrative purposes. And just an information, resolutions are different from laws. Please take note of that. Now, for the elaborating, what better way for a learner to showcase their understanding of the topic lectured than to let them elaborate their thoughts and learning? That is why we will call the activity here exercise your right. Why? Because it is the right of every individual to express their thoughts and understanding without fear and doubt. And in connection to the activity, as a country citizen, the learners will be given the right and privilege to speak through a 90-second video and elaborate as to how they think these words are observed in the society. Among the choices, they may only choose one. Now, what are these words? We have law, Philippine Constitution, statutes, case laws, and regulatory laws. Now, among the five words, they are to choose only one for them to discuss in their video about their ideas and understanding of the concept. Now, the last E would be the evaluating. And indeed, one can go a distance when learning the discussed topics. Now it's time for them to evaluate their understanding and learning from the topics explained by answering the following questions or assessment. Now, in this assessment, we will call this I can go the distance. And according to the instructions, they are to briefly discuss their understandings on the concepts that they have learned in this module and will be guided, of course, by the each item's questions. Of course, the questions pertains to the legalities and jurisprudence that has been discussed in this module. Now, that would be all for my 5 E's. Now, the big question is, did we achieve our lesson objectives? Yes, we did. How? First objective, explain the various legal ideas and essential national legalities through the discourse of the module. Now, where did we achieve this? We achieved this in the explaining portion or the enlightenment, wherein we discuss the ideas of the definition of law, the nature, the typologies, and the sources of educational jurisprudence. Next objective is differentiate the meaning of law and Philippine jurisprudence through the module. Now, where did we achieve this? Again, we achieved this in the explaining, which is the enlightenment, and in the elaborations, which is exercise your right. The third is demonstrate awareness of the legal rights and information and juridical knowledge through the module, of course. Where did we achieve this? We achieved this in the first activity, which is find me in law school, and in the last activity or the assessment, which is I can go the distance. Now, the first and last activity really correlated to each other, which gave emphasis on the demonstration of awareness on legal rights and information and juridical knowledge. Now, before we would end my presentation, I would like to leave you by this quote. This is according to Han Joo-hui or Kim Boom from the Korean series Law School, which was released this year. Now, according to him, those who know the law well are more dangerous than those who know nothing about it. There are a lot of semantic interpretation about this, but one thing is for sure. This is the sentence or quote that is aimed to be formed by the students in the activity or the first activity, Find Me in Law School. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have learned something. And if you have questions, you can ask them now, or you could contact me through these contact details. Thank you very much and have a good day ahead.